everyone for coming and joining our information session about the HBCU Science Policy College Tour. I'm Raechel McKinley, and
I'm Jasmine George. And we're both PhD candidates. Raechel goes to Howard University and I go to Morehouse School of Medicine.
Yes. So this is our agenda today. First, we'll start off with some introductions. We'll give you a little brief background about science policy and social determinants of health and how it affects you. We'll also give you more information about the National Science Policy Network and the main event, which is the HBCU College Tour webinar series.
All right, to give you a brief background about who I am, I'm Jasmine George, I'm a PhD candidate at Morehouse School of Medicine in their biomedical science program. I'm also a Rice Scholar. I'm also the founder and president of Morehouse School of Medicine Health and Science Policy Group. Generally, my research interests lies in lipid metabolism and the development of kidney disease in obese and type 2 diabetic individuals. And I graduated with my master's in biomedical research from Morehouse School of Medicine and my bachelor's from North Carolina A&T State University. So quite a few HBCUs in my background. And as you can see on our left, this is a picture with me and the wonderful John Lewis when I was speaking with him about funding in science and a few other science policy topics that were relevant to the state of Georgia at the time.
Mm-hmm. So, like I said, I'm Raechel McKinley. I'm a PhD candidate at Howard University, and I'm also in the NIH Howard University intramural research collaboration program. I'm the founding president of the Howard University Science Policy Association. My research interests are epigenetic mechanisms, specifically DNA methylation of inflammation as it pertains to multiple sclerosis. And I also graduated from North Carolina A&T with my bachelor's in biology.
Yeah, and I should probably of note say that both of us are part of the National Science Policy Network, both of our organizations and ourselves. So
yeah, we're both members, and both of our organizations are chapters with the National Science Policy Network. So what is science policy? So science policy is the connection between science, technology, engineering, math, and politics. And it's a field where scientists and health workers work basically as a liaison between the government on behalf of the public interest. So there are different disciplines within science policy. So there's science policy at the state versus federal level. There's science education, so that may pertain to policy analysts trying to increase funding for colleges in their STEM programs, or science diplomacy, which is relevant to now because we have a global pandemic. So it's where scientists across the globe kind of work together for certain interests, such as coming together to work on a vaccine. And environmental health and justice, so making sure that everyone has clean air and water to drink, and even more. So here's some pictures that kind of can give you a certain examples of science policy. So here you have pictures of prescription drugs and money. So a person who may work in science policy may help to determine the price of prescription drugs and also how drugs are regulated. Here you have a picture of a company, a power plant, so making sure that a company is not emitting too much CO2 emissions. Also, we have the logo for the National Science Foundation and NIMH. So NSF is a funding agency that gives funding to scientists. So, trying to determine which schools or programs are able to get certain funding for research, that goes into science policy. And for instance, for National Institute of Mental Health, so also we have an opioid pandemic. So maybe giving funding to scientists who are studying opioid addiction may be an interest that policy analysts will work on behalf of public interest.
So you're probably wondering, how does this affect public health? So one of the ways is through social determinants of health, which can be broadly described as conditions in places where we live, learn, work, and play that affect a wide range of health risks and outcomes. So from the figure here, we see that the individual's health can be affected by factors such as the healthcare system, economic stability, your surrounding community or culture, education, physical environment, or food and access to food. So our resources that enhance quality of life have a significant influence on the population's health outcomes. And examples of these resources include safe and affordable housing, equitable healthcare, access to education, and availability of healthy foods, among many others. So the way that we as a country address these issues is through policy. We can move to the next slide. Mm-hmm. So, for example, there are current calls for racial justice that bring into question the equity of healthcare. And looking at current political climate, we see people marching for racial justice and battling the pandemic at the same time. So both issues can be thought of as health issues, and those can be impacted by policies. And these policies can further determine how we view or approach health. So things like the maternal mortality rate amongst African Americans and the impact of pandemic level diseases such as COVID-19 will need science-based evidence to inform policies and policymakers on how to address these issues. So to many of you, science policy may seem like a vague idea or concept, but it is an important and multifaceted aspect of science and health. And as we said in the previous slides, policy can not only affect who does science and how the science is done, but it can also affect the community or you as an individual. So that's kind of the role of the National Science Policy Network, is to get you as the future health science leader to get involved with policy. So it is a network of early career scientists, engineers, allied members, and undergraduate members who all come together and serve at different hubs in the country. And we address policy and advocacy topics that are relevant to our areas. So for instance, I would be part of the Southern Hub, and Raechel's part of the Eastern. So how we work is science policy works through these.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Hi. Sorry. I don't know how I go back. Oh, shoot. I'm sorry. Sorry about that, everyone.
I think that's your part, Raechel.
Huh?
I think that's your part. That's how we work.
Oh, okay. So how we work. So with NSPN, so we work together with NSPN to create a network of different people who have an interest in science policy, and to develop a theory of change. So to develop a new science community, NSPN works as partners in a talent network, and to have science at policy and dinner tables. So of the current programming that NSPN does is, so there is an annual memo competition, which we work in conjunction with the Journal of Science Policy and Government. So recently, a couple months ago, we had an op-ed workshop. So it's certain events such as that where you can work with people who are in the field of science communication to put together op-eds and policy memos. There's the micro grants program. So the micro grants program awards around $40,000 to different activities, to different chapters, and they awarded that to 23 NSPN chapters. And that's also a programs for if you're trying to, if you have an idea that your chapter wants to facilitate that will have a benefit for science or advocacy, it's something that you can apply for. Also, previously, there was the Science Policy Symposium where science policy analysts that are part of NSPN got together and talked about various topics. This past year, the topic was on racial equity and justice. And also, this past year, NSPN focused on the 2020 election initiative, and also the Cy Paul Scholars Program, where people are paired with one of the organizations that NSPN partners with that Jasmine stated earlier, and they are partnered with mentors from those organizations, and also work together in a remote internship with those organizations. Also, we have the NSPN has new diversity, equity, and inclusion funding known as the LOVE Grant. And so the LOVE Grant is $1,000, and it's meant to increase diversity in science, policy, advocacy, communication, diplomacy, and it's geared towards minority serving institutions and organizations. And so the application for that actually opened January 15th, and it closes on March 15th. So if you're interested in applying for this grant, the link is posted right here. And I'm sure that we can post it also in the chat for those who are interested. So a little bit about the HBCU College Tour webinar series. So this started out as an idea that Jasmine and I had of how to get people at HBCUs interested in science policy. And so we came up with this idea to actually go around to different HBCUs and actually educate and engage students about science policy, with the goal to create other NSPN chapters to build connections with NSPN and HBCUs, as well as to create networking and mentorship opportunities with movers and shakers in science policy. So how is the College Tour webinar series organized? So it's organized into 3 weeks. So there's Science Policy 101, where we plan on educating students on science policy, as well as having an engagement exercise of having students write digital postcards to their lawmakers. We have our second webinar series, which is Science Writing and Communication, where students will learn the ins and outs of science writing and will be entered into an op-ed competition where there'll be a prize, and where the students will come back the next year and to present their op-ed to the webinar series next year. And lastly, there's going to be a networking event where students will be paired with a mentor, as well as they'll get to ask questions to a panel of movers and shakers of policy analysts in different fields and in different levels of their careers. So now we would like to open the floor to any questions.
Yeah, you can use either the hands up or just unmute yourself and go for it.
Hello, greetings and humble salutations. I am Aaliyah Brown, a senior biology major, and I wonder if there is additional support for students who are continuing their careers outside of minority serving institutions. So for instance, I go to FAMU now, and then I go to graduate school, and therefore, can I still participate in the program past the point of transitioning out of an HBCU, or is it only for within the HBCU sphere?
Oh yeah, no, I can answer. So it's not, well, so while the program is geared to HBCUs, if you are about to graduate and go to another institution, you wouldn't be turned away from the program at all. The main goal of the program is to diversify the field of science policy, right? So that means, people who are of different minority groups don't just go to HBCUs. And so we're very aware that, a lot of people may go to an HBCU for undergrad, and then for graduate school, they'll go to a PWI. But the entire field of science policy is actually lacking in diversity. And so that's where the problem lies. It's not necessarily, can we get people at HBCUs? It's kind of a way of trying to find more diversity is by gearing to HBCUs, because there is actually a lack of diversity of actually having science policy organizations at HBCUs, which is something that we do want to increase. We want to increase that, but the main goal is to get more people who are more diverse and of other minority groups involved in science policy. So
yeah, absolutely. And you're considering pursuing professional school or graduate school. And you can definitely check to see if even at the graduate schools that you accept or go to has an NSPN chapter, because we do have quite a few chapters at various different schools.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Any other questions? Questions?
I think someone is trying to join.
Well, if that is all, we do have our contact information here. If you do think of anything while you're maybe on your way home, or if you're just wondering.
What, a chat? Someone posted in the chat.
Yeah, you can throw it in the chat if you would like.
Oh, so thank you. Well, thank you for coming. Yeah.
Yeah, feel free to contact us either via email or via Twitter. I read people's entrance statements to graduate school, and I give advice with chapters all the time. So I'm perfectly open to do that. Just shoot me an email and let me know that you saw me do this.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely send us an email about anything. And we really hope to see you all at the webinar series. There'll be a lot of good information. You'll be able to network with a lot of people. And I don't know if we stress it enough, but there's actually a lot of money to actually get in terms of different grants. And something that we also didn't say, there's a professional development fund through NSPN. So that's like $500 that you can use to help, help you with your career in science policy. There's different internship opportunities, and the networking opportunities are, they're priceless. Really, you're able to communicate with people who have gotten certain fellowships that you may be interested in applying to, and who are in the positions that you may be interested in being in science policy. And so we really encourage everyone, if it sounds like a career choice that you want to pursue, to come to the webinar series and get more information.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Good to see you again.
Good seeing y'all again. Couldn't make it before, but it's good seeing y'all again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, that's so good.
Do y'all plan to keep this up in terms of every so often you have another seminar? Yeah, okay.
We're
Okay.
gonna have one in February, so we're gonna have another one.
Okay.
Yeah, we're having our next information session in February, and we do plan on keeping this HBCU policy tour every year.
Okay, good. Yeah, just continue to do what you're doing in terms of sending the link, the information, and we'll be sure to get it out there.
Yep.
This is great.
Thank you.
Hi, can I ask a question before we go?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, is there a formal application folks need to fill out, or is it just watching for the webinar link to pop up on social media or via email?
Yeah, so we'll have a registration form to be sent out shortly after our last information session. So just look out for that. We'll probably promote it on social media, either NSPN's or our own social media. We'll also be circulating it to schools.
Yes. So
Okay.
we'll send that information to the professors and coordinators that we sent this link out to. So we'll also be sending the registration forms out to them. And we also encourage you to, email us, and we can, send you and definitely have you down on the list. And yes.
Okay, I'll follow up and email you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
No problem.
All right.
Yep.